This will be a headline today. President Obama set to attend an Islamic roundtable today in Baltimore, marking the first visit as president to an American mosque. However, critics taking issue with the choice of this mosque, accusing it of having extremist ties because of a former imam who was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. Want to bring in Zuhdi Jasser, founder, president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, also a former U.S. Navy lieutenant commander and author of A Battle for the Soul of Islam, an American Muslim patriot's fight to save his faith. Zuhdi, welcome back and good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
Why do you think now this trip is being made? Let's start there.
Well, I think he's basically using it as a political prop in this height of a partisan season, and also right before the National Prayer Breakfast wants to make a point. I mean, why didn't he visit a Sikh temple? Why didn't he visit a synagogue? I mean, he's simply using the Muslim community. I say using because many of us American Muslims, especially those of us in the Muslim reform movement, are asking, is this the bigotry of low expectations? Why visit a mosque that's heaped in Salafism, heaped in an ideology that is really incompatible with Western identity? They have gender apartheid in the mosque. They've given a sermon just a couple of years ago from Yasin Sheikh, who called homosexuals deviants and have a mental disorder. I mean, this is not, even if you take the president's liberal values, he's basically using Muslims as a prop who disagree with his own liberal values. It's bizarre.
Well, that's interesting. So you question his judgment. Well, where would you expect him to go? I mean, is there another location that you would recommend that would say, you know what, these are moderates, they do not sympathize, and there's no sense for that?
Well, certainly most of the mosques in America are driven by the North American Islamic Trust, connected to the Muslim Brotherhood network, but there are many that don't practice gender apartheid. There are many that are heaped in more modern interpretations where you have a mixture of men and women, so they exist. Are they a majority? No. They would need to do some homework. Our Muslim reform movement could have helped him find those if he was interested in actually leading us into reform that would help de-radicalize, but unfortunately, he talks about counter-radicalism, he talks about having a forum, but the reality is he's just like in foreign policy when we cozy up to Saudi Arabia and Iran. Domestically, he's cozying up to those who actually may preach against violence, but they're preaching ideology that's on a conveyor belt towards radicalism,
yeah, so
which is Islamist.
They do not recognize women fully at this mosque. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, at the halakha last Friday, which is the discussion, Ezra Nomani, who's a journalist, today, by the way, she's standing outside with other women with signs that say we are against the treatment of women that are separate and supposedly unequal, and they should be equal, and they're not. In that mosque, the women are relegated to the back. They have to look at the sermon on a TV screen. They can't be in the main hallway. It is just absurd. When they discuss theological discourse, they have to yell and scream across the hallway because they can't be in the main discussion. So now they're going to see mixture today at the meeting, because at all interfaith discussions they pretend to have American values, but when the president leaves, they'll put the curtain back up between men and women.
Well, one more thing on this. You know this internal debate we're having right in this country about Muslim refugees, etc.
Yeah.
What do you think the White House would like to get out of this visit? What sort of message do you think the president personally wants to drive from it?
Well, I think he wants to drive the one that many of us Muslims believe, is that Muslims are part of the American fabric. My parents came to America to be able to be more free than any so-called Muslim country. So I think that's what he's trying to do. Unfortunately, he's trying to also be very partisan, say that Republicans are bigots while the Democrats have the haven for minorities, when in fact, universal human rights, I think I hear more coming from the conservative side. This isn't a partisan issue. Our Muslim reform movement is bipartisan, and we beg of the president to stop using Muslims as a prop for partisan one-upsmanship and instead join us in reforming the ideas that are creating the radicals. I mean, the San Bernardino shooting was done by Muslims that went to a similar type of mosque, and then we say, oh my God, how did they become violent? Well, he's feeding into saying that these Muslims represent us, and by gosh, they do not represent Muslims that are reformists.
Well, the motorcade apparently leaving the White House 10 minutes ago, and we'll see what comes of this. En route to Baltimore,
Thanks,
thank you. Zuhdi Jasser live there in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you.